one of the more odd requests or different requests that I've gotten recently was this. So I just picked up these monster logs the other day, as I showed before. They're beautiful red oaks with zero rot. I actually had a guy reach out to me on one of my listings, it's on Marketplace, for a stand for an anvil, the big round. So what he got was this guy right here. So I cut this off of the butt log. This is the top of it. It's about 32 in diameter, 34 in diameter on the bottom, 32 on the top. It's got a nice taper because it is from the butt log. That piece right there weighs about 1,000 pounds. So, hey, if people, you can see that's how much it sticks up over the tailgate, and these Fords have a deep bed in them too. If people are willing to pay, I'm willing to do it when it comes to firewood and stuff like that. But yeah, that's definitely one of the more odd requests I've gotten. Hey, for the price though, I don't mind doing this at all. I got 150 bucks just to cut that round and go deliver it about 20 minutes away. So I'm gonna get on the road and go deliver it, and we'll see what we get into when I get back. We're back at the yard now. I went and off camera loaded up this load of logs from the log pile onto the log trailer. Put a deck on. That one's a little bit rotten. Well, ants ate in the middle. See how that one goes. Maybe take that one off. A little bit of mixed hardwood here. Some of the older stuff. Actually, what we're going to be doing, a few different things. Going to be putting a new chain on. We have 30. What's that say? 30. It'll focus. It's gonna focus. $33 hours on the machine now. We're gonna go ahead and put a new chain on. We're gonna adjust the log, the positive stop there, to move it down to 10 inch, or as close to as we can. Figure out that I think 12 inch is the shortest it goes, but I'll figure something out. I'll rig something up. I gotta make a custom run of 10 inch firewood for one of my good bundle customers. They need some, for their own personal use, some 10 inch long firewood. So let's go ahead and get a new chain put on, adjust the auto stop, and let's get it going. When you buy a new processor, Cord King, and they really don't have to do it, but they did give me, and I'm sure they give everybody, an extra new chain to go along with it. That way you have the actual packaging so you can line up the correct chains when you go to buy new ones. You can line up the correct chains to what you need for the machine. Loosen this guy up. I've come to find out it is a little bit different than changing a regular chainsaw chain. It fell off. It came off one time because I did not adjust the tension, so I had to put it on. But this is still the first chain, the original chain that came with that we ran at the trade show for a while, and then I'd say I ran at least 20 cord through it so far, maybe more. So this chain's got a lot of use on it already. But what you need is a scrunch I use a scrunch for this actual screw. And then this guy actually doesn't fit either ends of a standard scrunch. It is, I'll tell you in 1 second what socket size it is. A little bit awkward to get in here, but not the worst. It is a 9/16 socket to take off the chain off of this. Find some good foot placement so you could be up here and not doing it from the ground. I'm sure you could do it without taking this off completely if you're creative, but I'm just going to loosen it and take it completely off. And I will say that a lot of the wood I was running in the beginning was older stuff, stuff that had been moved around a bit. I'm still running a lot of the logs that were too big for my first processor, the EcoPro. I would have had to put on the monster splitter to split down, or were just too much for it, or too big, or what, or it's deeper in the pile than where I was getting to with that machine. So a lot of them have been sitting around for a while, maybe get some dirt and stuff on them, and so this chain definitely got its use. I mean, I think 25 cord, 30 cord, at least 25. Say at least 25 cord is pretty good for one chain. That's what I think. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I think. So what we have to do is move this sensor out of the way to pull this whole thing off. Clean that out, and then we're also going to flip the bar around. And it looks like we should probably turn up the oil a little bit too. That's what I'm probably going to do, just to get a little bit more oil on this bar. Let's take the other one off. I mean, it doesn't look like initial looks really good. It does not look like there are any digs or chunks out of it. It definitely does look worn. Let's put that right there for now. Careful not to score that cylinder. Flip this bar around. Make sure, yep, our ports are all surprisingly very clean. Just flip this bar around. Oop. This. There. New Oregon chain. So this takes a 18, well, the type of chain it is 18HX. That's what they recommend for for a processor mainly running hardwood. It's a 404 chain with 86 drive links. This is what this machine uses. The 1820 uses this specific chain. I kind of want to try out the 19 chain too. We'll see. It's a different kind of, I guess, cut for the chisels, or are a little bit different on it, I guess. Not sure the exact differences, but I know it's slightly different. So maybe at some point when we get chains again, we'll try that. But at the show, this is always my least favorite part, untangling the chain. At the show, I was actually able to get a bunch of new chains, all cut to the proper length, made to the proper length, with 86 drive links from one of the vendors. Very reasonably priced, actually. I think they came down out to like $20-something, $21.50 a chain is what the final price was. Oh my god, am I struggling with this so much? Gotta get these two to meet. There we go. $21 for the chain. So I bought 5 of them. Actually, I went back like an hour later on Sunday when I was there to pick up the machine. An hour later, I was like, you know what, give me 10 more of them. And they didn't have any more of this chain. They were completely sold out of the roll that they had brought. So I lost out on that. But nonetheless, I got 5 chains for, it was like $101. No, $96 and change. And $96 and change with tax is what it came out to. So it really was not that bad in my opinion at least, because even when you go on Amazon and get regular 24 inch chains for my my regular chainsaw, those are like 30 bucks a piece, for a good Oregon chain, and that's what this stuff is. This is the actual Oregon chain. So I didn't think it was a half bad deal. I thought I did pretty good on that. Alright, so we gotta get this. The other thing I was going to do is adjust the bar oil to get a little bit more out of it. So it's this adjustment right here. There is a lock nut on the back to keep it where you want it. So you undo the nut a little bit, turn it up a little bit. Need 2 hands for this one. Turn it up a little bit, and now we'll lock it back down. Alright, so that's adjusted. We will soon have to do the 50-hour service on the motor. I actually almost forgot. After I started up, I realized I have to adjust the positive stop here, and I got some quick release pins, like tractor style pins, so I'm gonna grab those and we'll see if we can get those to fit in too. Wasn't sure what size it was, so I got 1/2 inch. I don't know, all they had was 1/2 inch and 3/4. Now I'm realizing definitely not 1/2 inch it is. Perfect, 1/2 inch it is. Now this will be significantly easier to adjust the stuff. Alright, so here's what I came up with. Very quick and rudimentary. Got two pieces of 2x4 that are true 2x4s. They dried a little bit, so they're just under 4 inches, and that's what that is. So let's go around the other side and get it wedged in. Temporary solution. Here's my solution. I don't know what's going on here. There we go. Here's my solution. 2 2x4s wedged in there. One of them cut at a nice angle, so it just kind of wedges itself in there. That is until I can get my guy over here with his mag drill and make another hole right here to catch a second one of these pins. Once he can do that, then I won't have to do this anymore. Well, there we go. That is, show you over here. There is, I gotta obviously pack the trailer down and everything else. But there is one, at least one full pour, probably a little bit more. Wow, beautiful. Small splits, 9.5 inches long of firewood. This actually ended up being mostly ash and maple. A little bit of hickory I think is in there as well. But this stuff will be ready to burn very quick, very soon. There's one house split, and two, they were much older logs that were sitting around. A lot of custom orders lately, but I'm perfectly fine with that. Custom orders is, you know, really where I've taken my business to, and doing the things that other people will not or can't or just don't think are profitable. That's exactly what I do, make them profitable. I've kind of built my entire operation out of doing things that other people don't or don't want to, or very seldomly will do, and I just charge the right price for it to make it worth my while, make it worth my time, the hours and the equipment, wear and tear, everything else. Just got to charge accordingly. It's the biggest thing, at least for me. 9 out of 10 people that I deal with have no issues with it and don't mind paying the price, because if they have a question, I can explain to them why I don't just pull prices out of thin air. I just kind of, make a reasonable price for the service that I'm doing, and what's reasonable in my mind, not what's reasonable in their mind, but what's reasonable in my mind and my numbers and everything else. And don't get me wrong, I don't sit down and figure out my exact ROI. I'm not an accountant or anything else like that. I don't figure out down to the penny, but I just make it worthwhile in my time and effort, and like I said, in my mind, charge accordingly. But I'm gonna go ahead and get this delivered, get a little shot of that getting delivered, and we'll see what else we can get into. What we have going on here today is actually a custom order. It's not exactly too custom, but it's a different order. I am going to be processing all of these logs that actually were from one of my neighbors here by my yard. I cleared a bunch of land, so this is the first load of probably a few that I'm going to be doing for him. Basically just processing all this down into heating wood. He's right around the corner, so we can heat this up nice on the trailer and go ahead and deliver it and just dump it right in his driveway. So some of them not the prettiest logs. There's a lot of beech in here, there's a lot of hickory, and looks like a little bit of maple and oak. So gonna go ahead and get these loaded on the live deck and go ahead and get it processed. Something that I recently got was this V4 35-gallon fuel tank. It's got a hand pump on it. Honestly, it works great. I was just really sick of the 5-gallon containers now with this processor. It doesn't, go through fuel like crazy, and it goes through, obviously goes through fuel with a 35 horsepower motor. So this 35-gallon tank is a lot easier than filling up a bunch of 5-gallon tanks over and over. It was about $200 shipped to me. You know, I put it together in a few minutes. It wasn't bad. Went and filled it up. And it's just like filling up my pickup truck again. So it's nice. So far it's very nice. I mean, you saw I overflowed a little bit because I didn't think that tank was, I thought that tank was completely empty on the conveyor, but it wasn't. But yeah, now we're loaded up. Let's go ahead and get the conveyor started and we'll start processing. So I just wrapped up filling this trailer with, this is roughly about 2 cords of firewood. I just ran through, took me, I'd say about an hour and 15 minutes of run time, probably maybe an hour to an hour and 15 minutes of run time on the machine. It just ran through real quick. You know, next to no resplits. I think maybe I flipped back 3 or 4 pieces from some of the butt ends of some of these beech logs that were just, they were 22-inch diameters. So it's barely even, I had to trim them to make them fit through the, through the throat. But this is mainly beech, some hickory, a few pieces of ash, some maple, and it smells phenomenal. I love the smell of maple and beech. Sure you guys know exactly what that smells like, but I'm gonna go get this delivered and dumped, and I'll be back. Well, here's the $400 from doing that custom order. I just went and delivered it. Figured I'd talk about it really quick. Put the next trailer here to run this specific load of white oak. This is all white oak I separated out, be able to run and keep it all separate. And this is what I'm starting to do. All of my separate species. This Cord King has allowed me to be able to get to that point, so I can run species specific. But I figured, like I said, I figured I'd talk about it for a quick second. I basically went and picked those logs up from a neighbor here at my yard. He lives about a mile down the road. and I just something I'm doing to try to get a few bucks back in my pocket after back in the savings account after paying for this machine, is just kind of taking whatever work comes my way, with the machine to get it to pay for itself, pay itself back, I should say. It was quick 2-cord, probably I'd call it 2 hours total, round trip, between going to pick the logs up from 1,000 feet up the road with the log trailer, coming back here, loading them on the deck. I had to make a few cuts, to clean them up a little bit. An hour and 15, hour and 20 minutes to run them all through the processor. With this beautiful 16-way wedge, made super quick. Get my finger out of the way. Made super quick work of those. And yeah, so basically what I did was, if they're supplying the logs, I'll just run them for 200 bucks a cord, and run it right off the processor. So any scrap, any chaff, any broken pieces, whatever it may be, it all goes right to them, to the customer, for that 200 bucks a cord, which it's a good deal for me. Literally all I had to do was move a few joysticks, right here, move a few levers and a joystick, and then go and collect the money you saw just a second ago. You just came by and paid me a little bit after I delivered. That 400 bucks. So I'm gonna go ahead and get going on all this white oak. Just like that, literally 35-40 minutes later, including unclogging the conveyor twice, I have at least 1.5 cords, or at least a full cord, 1.25 cords of pure white oak firewood coming out of the Cord King 1820 with the 16-way wedge on it currently. So yeah, I'd say this machine was worth it. I would never been able to do that. It would have taken me a day, at least a full day before, with white oak to make it go through my old machine. White oak was tough. This thing just pushed right through. This is something I've never done before, and I just sit down and talk to the camera. Sitting on the seat of the Cord King, because I just wrapped up. You saw the clip of looking at the deck of logs. There's a full deck of white oak logs, between 12 and 20 footers, definitely more 20 footers than 12s. You saw how much wood it made, and that literally took me 35 to 40 minutes max, and I had to unclog the conveyor twice, because I'm learning that this machine outpaces that conveyor. So I got to figure something out there. But what I want to talk about really quickly is everyone knows what happened a few days ago, and everyone, we lived through something, in history that hopefully doesn't happen again in my lifetime. But it hit home to me is Charlie Kirk was 31 years old. He had 2 kids and a wife. But I'm 31 years old. I'm really figuring out my business now. I'm really getting to a point where everything's really starting to take off. But what I've really done, what I have practiced the last week and a half, is immediately after this video I'm going home to continue practicing this, but getting home to my wife and my son at a reasonable time and spending as much time as I can with my son. It hits very close to me because our birthdays we were born just a few months apart. Literally, we were born 5 months apart. And what this machine has done for me in my business, this is not a sales pitch by any means. It took me a long time to get to this point. I've been doing firewood professionally for 7 years, selling firewood and really doing it as a full-time business. It took me a long time to get to this point. A lot of different avenues to get there. Started hauling logs a lot and was always doing firewood. But it's taken me a long time to get to this point. And what this machine has done for me is buy back a lot of time. In the efficiency and how quickly I can output wood Yes, I'm currently making more to catch up, but I sit right around 100 cord a year, and that's kind of where I want to be. And maybe I won't be buying, 50 cord a year anymore from other suppliers in the area. I'll be able to make it all myself in a much more reasonable amount of time. Hey, maybe I'll do a lot more. Who knows? I don't know what the future will bring. But what I'm getting at is that this machine has bought me a lot of time back, and in a realization of what's happened, recently, that I'm 31 years old. My son is growing up very quickly, and I want him to be able to, have a great childhood, be able to come here as he pleases. Once he gets a little bit older, he's just about to turn 2. I'll be able to bring him here, put him to work, make him stack wood and everything else, just like all our dads did to us. Just generally put us to work. But it just really gave me that realization that I need to spend more time with family. I wanted to touch on this, not to get political by any means, but more of as a wake-up call to a lot of guys out there that I was in that boat just a few weeks ago, a few months ago, that I was just working, getting home, leaving before dark, getting home after dark. And what I've tried to do with my business is make it so I can maximize my revenue per cord to free up my time. And I've really been able to do that now with how quickly I can produce firewood at a high quality. And it's just a wake-up call, realization. So this has already been 5 minutes of me sitting here blabbing, but just something to think about. All right, everyone, kind of take a step back, see where you're at, and see what you can do to spend more time with your family, spend more time with your kids, with your dog, with your girlfriend, with your parents, with your friends, whatever you have, support group you have, whatever friend group you have. Spend more time with them. We don't know how long all of us have on this planet left. So that's it. I'm gonna leave it on that note. I don't want this to be a depressing note by any means. It's more of an inspirational of, hey, I've really been able to crank it up here so I can get home to my wife and my son at a reasonable time. Sit down and have dinner with them. Sit down, watch TV, sit on the couch, be a couch potato with my soon-to-be 2-year-old who's growing up way too fast. But yeah, that's it. So we got into a lot of stuff here today. I ended off on a little bit more of a serious note than usual, but a good conversation to have with yourself, with your partner, your business partner, your wife, your girlfriend, whoever you may have. Figure out how you can spend more time with your family. Well, we'll be back. We have a load of pine getting ready to go on the processor there. I'm going to switch gears to pine for a bit and get some supply built up.